Many fans here in the chat.
Hello and welcome to round 2 back 9 coverage from the Sieravuori Challenge 2023. This is the FPO coverage from one of the latest events on the Euro Tour this season. My name is Elias Luukkonen and I will be taking you through this round today. We have seen some good play on the front nine, specifically from Jenni Karppinen. And also, well, we didn't see her on the video, but Saara playing a nice +2 front nine, almost matching Jenni Karppinen's leading pace for this round. I'm sure Jenni likes her position in the tournament as she's already leading by 9 strokes over second place. As we're moving on to the first hole of the back 9, a dogleg par 4 to the left of the tee. You want to be throwing something on a pretty steep hyzer or something pretty overstable. Try not to push too far to set yourself up with a nice straight approach to this elevated basket. It's a true 2-shot hole as you can't really bite too much distance off the tee. And even with that 135 meters being a very short par 4, it's not incredibly easy. Especially on the green, you have a bit of a slope away on the backside of the green. So a lot depends on the drive and especially on the approach. Looks like both Jenni and Anni will have some decent looks for the green on the second. And Mirabella will most definitely not, as she has hit one of the early trees. That's really the only danger of the tee. You can push the disc too long, but as you see there, Elina getting a nice kick from the rocks. That's what usually happens. You almost always have some sort of a look to the basket, unless you hit one of these first trees, as Mirabella has done. And the troubles continue. She has to be careful not to lose that second place. And that's another tree hit 3 times in a row. And finally it's somebody else's turn to throw. And that's another one. Everybody's just finding a lot of trouble on this hole. Although I'm sure Jenni will still have a great chance to get up and down for the par. And Elina a little bit short right there. That looked like a bit of a bailout play. Possibly she was just trying to get good distance down the fairway and not really park it, as that overstable forehand doesn't really have the potential to park the hole. And talking about potential, that was... wow, that shot had potential to go all the way to Sweden. As Mirabella has overshot the basket, not gonna have a great look for... that will be for the bogey on the next. So advantage everybody else that have stayed somewhat clean on this one. And looks like Jenni is not gonna have a lot of trouble. She has just the jump putt left to the green. Easy work there. You can see the slope even a little bit ahead of the basket, pulling all of those discs down there. And this layup, actually, you have to be a little bit careful of the angle. So a lot of chance for a bit of a roll away, as Elina gets not much of a roll. And Anni also just laying up, though that was not a great layup. And visibly a little bit frustrated. I can understand being the local and not being able to navigate some of these holes as well as I'm sure she's used to. Important putt here. And the putting struggles continue. Jenni has been throwing the disc very well, but just some of those inside the circle misses. That's a clean one from Anni. Oh. Whoa, I was not expecting that. That's a tough mishap on the end of a tough hole for Mirabella. That's gonna be a triple bogey. Now it's almost certain that she has lost the second place to Sara on the second card. Pretty tough miss there. I'm sure that's not gonna help her going forward into hole 11. That's one of the shortest holes we have had so far. I believe the shortest one. Only 75 meters. Going pretty far uphill though, so probably playing closer to 85 or even 90. The shape here is a left to right moving shot. You have to go pretty far straight and then at the very end move right. Very difficult shape unless you have a nice forehand. Really only Elina out of these players is comfortable with the forehand, and looks like even she's going with that backhand. Pushing the right side. A nice tree kick there. Looks like both Anni and Elina are not gonna be very close to the basket, but definitely gonna have chances, or well, I should say pretty easy opportunities for the par. And Jenni there. What a nice shot. That's gonna be in the circle, and that's gonna be a test to see how that putter's feeling after a couple of tough misses. It's one of the more difficult greens on the course, and for example where Mirabella is, it's definitely not gonna be super easy. She's looking directly at that drop-off from this angle on the right side of the basket. So Anni playing it pretty smart on that left side. Gonna leave only a short 4-meter putt for the par. Should be no problem, as she has actually putted pretty well throughout the round. And oh no, that's the worst case scenario. There's a big drop-off, as I mentioned, on that right side. And looks like Elina has gone all the way down. Does that one stay? It does. So she still has a chance to get a bogey. And a good settle there. Luckily no roll away. Alright, Jenni. Let's see where's the mind at. Pretty nice looking putt, but just not good enough. It's one of the more frustrating misses you can have, especially after already having missed a couple of putts. That's a good one from Elina. And I don't know how Jenni was feeling here. Personally, I haven't asked her, but I don't know. You must think that, especially going into putting, where I feel like putting kind of requires the highest level of concentration. If you're leading by plenty of strokes, if you're leading by 10, 11 strokes, it must be a little bit more difficult to focus to your every shot like you would like to. I don't know if that's actually true, just a thought. And we're moving on to one of the more difficult holes on the course, hole 12, 140 meters par 3, so extremely far. You have that early gap to hit off the tee, and you would like to fly somewhat straight for most of the flight, and maybe at the very end have a small left finish. It's not really a hole that our players are looking to reach off the tee, but hopefully get within that 40-30 meter range and have either a long jump putt or a pretty easy standstill approach. And that's exactly what Anni has done. That was a beautiful release, perfectly on that right side. And Jenni with a similar one. That's really all you need here. Just get down there straight to the field, and you have a great chance to get a par. Not for Mirabella though, as she has gone OB to the left. A little bit of an early release to the left. And this is a nice line. Hopefully not finding the left OB too early. And that's exactly what Elina has been able to avoid. 3 great drives, and Mirabella out here still trying to go for a big shot to get up and down for the bogey. And look at that! Crazy accurate shot, as she has hit the bottom of the basket with that one. I'm very impressed. She must have had 85, even 90 meters left and going blind. Pretty impressive stuff. And Anni also being just on the edge of the bullseye there. And Jenni as well. That's some quality play on this one. Now Elina to finish the good play by the card. A bit of an awkward looking release there. Possibly might have stuck to her fingers a little bit. And that's gonna be a disappointing bogey after the perfect drive. The best drive we have seen on this one throughout 2 rounds. And looks like we're gonna have 2 bogeys and 2 pars on this hole. And once again, Jenni is going to be taking a stroke on the nearest competitor on the card, which would be Mirabella. And the lead inside the card has turned already to 12 strokes. And Anni actually, with that strong par start at the back, has claimed the tide for 3rd, of course behind Sara on the 2nd card, and tied with hole 13. This is a tough par 3 here, 113 meters and a low ceiling, about 2/3 down the fairway. Really requires a lot of power if you want to get within putting distance, but most players aiming for that kind of 30 meters short of the tee, and then trying to either throw it in on the 2nd or just have a simple approach. And that's pretty much a perfect one from Anni. Beautiful flip up on the disc. She's gonna have no more than 30 meters left. And this one is another one of those holes that you see a lot of on this course, where we're going kind of from the woods into the open and then back into the woods at the very end of the fairway. I feel like it's really a theme on this course. A couple of clean drives. Jenni hit some stuff halfway down there. And Elina also going out left early. Gonna leave a difficult approach. And she has a chance. She definitely does have a chance, although it's gonna be a pretty long putt there. Let's see, Jenni going with the forehand, not her most common shot. She's more of a backhand player. And that's gonna be an easy par for Anni. A fourth consecutive easy par for her. And a run for the birdie. Mirabella after a nice drive. Once again, I think the best drive we have seen throughout 2 rounds as Jenni. Now she's got the putter back under control, making a good one from, I believe, just outside of circle. Elina as well, cleaning up. She has a lot of work left to do if she wants to stay on the lead card for the 3rd round. As we know, well, right now on our card, plus 17 is tied for 3rd. So if let's say Elina wanted to make the lead card, she would have to either beat Anni.
The J, it's kind of like a companion disc to the Rock, not quite as overstable. So it's more point and shoot than the Rock is, but it's still got really good torque resistance and it plays really well in the wind, and you can throw it sidearm.
And now we're moving on to a beautiful one, hole 14. Big par 5 of 290 meters, probably playing a little bit shorter in reality as it is grading slightly downhill through the entire distance of the fairway. Really the OB left and right that make this hole challenging. Off the tee you really almost can't reach the OB on either side if you're playing somewhat conservative. Then on the second shot the OB is getting a little bit tighter, and especially on the 3rd, if you're trying to go for the birdie on this one, the OB does come into play. Vital importance here for getting good distance on both the first and the second shot, because you don't want to leave yourself a long approach. It's really gonna be a bad idea with that OB tightening on the latest part on the fairway. We saw a nice low shot from Anni, also a bit of a low one from Jenni. Surprising not to see these players going a little bit higher and try to play more of that glide out of the disc. But let's see if Mirabella does that. Also pretty low. Although that is well driven, a lot of pace on the disc. Gotta be just next to the other 2. That's clearly the place to be. You have that white stake in the middle of the field. That's kind of a good aiming point for most of the players. So everybody in a good position here, and now it's all about just staying between the lines, and it looks like Elina will do that just perfectly. She's not quite to the thinnest part of the fairway yet, so she had a lot of room to fade out, but let's see if Jenni is going for something slightly bigger. And yes, looks like slightly bigger is a fair description, as she's gonna have, I believe she is gonna have a chance to get up and down for the birdie if she likes to. It's gonna be a pretty aggressive shot, but I'm sure nothing she can't handle. And the same thing for Anni. You can really see her favorite shape here, going for that slight hyzer, slight turnover, slight fade. I believe going with a star strike on almost all of the shots we see from her, at least the ones played for a longer distance. And everybody kind of playing a very similar game plan here. Elina looks like she is going for the green. That's a nice play. I like the angle. Gonna be a little bit short, but this green actually with the beachy green it doesn't have a lot of skips, so you're able to run your putts from further out, as Jenni makes a pretty big mistake going OB left, never giving it the chance to get to the green. Completely unlike Mirabella, who has made it in the circle. And Anni, she's also going left. That's definitely gonna be OB on the left side. Surprising error there, as she was by far in the best position of the group. Though it looks like she's gonna clean up the bogey. No further trouble there. I'm not gonna feel incredible though, as the biggest competitor of Anni right now, which is Mirabella, is putting for the birdie. Jenni, of course, as far as the score of the tournament or her position in the tournament, not gonna matter too much if she ends up taking a birdie or a bogey. But that's a big putt for Mirabella, and looks like she's not gonna be able to get 2 strokes on Anni, rather only 1. And this is one of my personal favorite greens that you can find on tour. We don't have the greatest angle to the lake right now, but it's a big, beautiful lake. And actually right next to this basket, there's a cottage that hosts some of our players for the tournament. It's truly a nice place to spend your nights. And days, of course, with the tournament. Moving on to hole 15. Possibly one of the easiest holes on the course. It's a hole that each and every one of our players is trying to birdie. Only 80 meters and going over a bit of a ridge to start and slightly downhill after that. You want to throw something pretty straight with the slightest finish left. The green is pretty slick though, so you don't really want to finish that strongly to the left. And Mirabella, she actually aced this hole in the previous round. Has thrown a great shot once again in the circle. Has a chance to go 3 under in 2 rounds on 1 hole. That's a little bit early left, and this looks a little bit early left as well. I think on this one you would probably rather try to stay straight than finish out way to the left, as the basket, you know, it's a little bit to the left, but it's not that far, and it's so easy to skip and roll down the hill, as we see Jenni doing. She had a pretty good release, pretty good hit off the first gap, but just not able to keep it straight enough. Not quite able to make it in. It's gonna be down to Anni or Mirabella to make the birdie. Update, it's gonna be down to Mirabella to make the birdie. I would really love to see it, especially after that ace. It was very similar looking shot in the last round, and she does not get it. Just had a bit more height, a bit more finish to it. And you can't see it from this angle, but behind our cameraman's back, there's also one of the most beautiful views you can find on this course, but also on any course we play on tour. You know, there's a lot of beautiful courses on tour, and I'm not saying that this course in particular is more beautiful than all the others, but it's definitely beautiful in a different way. kind of more natural, I guess more rough, more honest. That's the way I would describe the beauty on this course. And a pretty surprising score here. Just the par frame for the card. Nobody able to make that birdie. And hole 16. Another hole which does offer a pretty nice birdie chance with a nice drive. It's 95 meters. Really the play here is just throw something fast and glidey on a slide hyzer and just try to glide it as far forward and slightly to the left as possible. Last round the best drives we saw were around 10 meters away, so that's really what the players are aiming for. That's a good snap there. A bit of an overstable disc, not getting quite all of the glide. Kind of flirting with that left side OB, but looks like Mirabella will be safe. And this hole offers some great lush thick grass to stop all of your putts, so even with the elevated basket you can run the putts pretty hard with almost no risk of a long comebacker. And that's a tough mistake. Anni has found OB on a hole that almost never produces throws going into the OB. Gonna be very disappointing, especially since everybody else has thrown a good shot somewhere near the basket. Nobody in circle 1, but everybody within circle 2. Let's see Jenni. She has had a bit of a drought for the birdies on the back 9, and it's not gonna be ending on this one. Let's see, Elina needs to get it up and not quite there. And I believe that's like the third pretty good looking putt we have seen from Mirabella. Just not quite able to get them in. And it's the very similar looking miss every time, you know, a great looking line out of the hand, but just not getting enough power on the disc. What I really like about Mirabella's putt is that she has that spinny nose up delivery. So she can quite freely run all of these, even the elevated baskets, even from further out, and have almost no comebackers. Really good speed control. I feel like that's something especially some young players are missing. A lot of the times you can see a young player putting extremely hard with a lot of spin. Just completely flat nose angle, and they have huge comebackers all the time. Missing from 20 meters, they might have almost a 10-meter comebacker. So I think that would be my tip for anybody watching this video. If you're an amateur disc golfer that's trying to get better, you want to have some touch on your putts. But moving on, hole 17, a very difficult par 3 once again. We're gonna be finishing on 2 consecutive difficult par 3s. This one being 135 meters all the way down to the shore of the lake. And on this one it's all about just getting as much distance off the tee as possible while staying kind of straight. There's that OB on the left side that can come into play. And also that small pond between the tee and the basket. So you have to throw about 70 meters to get off the pond. So it's really almost never a problem for our players. Unless for some weird low release. That's 2 good shots there. The water on the fairway is considered casual, so nobody's OB so far. And Jenni also not going to be OB. This is another one of these kind of par 3.5, at least playing right now. So, you know, most of our players are not really trying to reach the hole, but also it's not long enough to be considered a challenging par 4. So there you go, Jenni even jump putting her approach from around 35 meters out. And that's a pretty common result on this one. You usually see a lot of players leaving it a little bit short. And that's a perfect explanation on what to do on this one, as you have that very soft sand that doesn't allow for much skips. So a lot of players still count for the skip and leave the disc a little bit short, when in reality you can land it under the basket, have no skip, and stay parked. And that's a tough miss from Jenni. Not the back nine she was looking for after going +1 in the front. And especially going -1 through, I believe, 4 holes. So she really had some potential to shoot a great round. Now just probably settling for a good one. And also a winning one. It's not like somebody's gonna catch her if she keeps playing at that pace. So 3 pars and a lone bogey for Jenni as we're moving on to 18. As I mentioned, a pretty difficult hole 18 here. 120 meters, this time going flat to even slightly uphill at the end. You have that OB left and OB right. Most players probably liking the right side a little bit more than the left. You want to throw something flat and hopefully keep it straight as long as possible. Another hole that is pretty hard to reach off the tee, but giving yourself an easy second shot is vitally important here. And that's not going to be what Mirabella is going to be left with. She's going to have a difficult approach to get up and down for the bogey. Elina with a good shot. And Anni, this is turning a lot. Needs to get back. And not going to be the case. That will be a difficult approach also for her. Jenni just barely staying safe there. Advantage to her. She has a chance to get even a couple more strokes on some of the other players. As Mirabella does have a chance for the bogey, but going to be a pretty difficult one with those guardian trees in the front of the basket. And Anni, this needs to get back. She has found the OB again. And it's looking like a disastrous finish to the round. She's going to be throwing 5 from about 30 meters out. And wow, Elina somehow making it through the trees. She still has a chance for the par. And Jenni, I believe the second forehand we have seen from her already. Well done from Anni there. Still gonna be not normally a tester putt, but possibly a tester for the triple bogey. Just for the sake of the mental challenge of getting a 6 on a par 3. And almost, I believe yesterday we had our first outside circle putt on this particular hole on the card. And let's see if we can do that again. No, actually, Jenni did have one earlier today, so that wouldn't have been the first. And Anni here to finish with some good authority. Not the round she was looking for. 2 strokes worse than yesterday, and that's gonna be pretty disappointing with a triple bogey finish. Mirabella also with a double. And looks like both Jenni and Elina are going to be finishing with the bogeys. So yeah, that's a lot of, as I mentioned earlier in the round, a lot of pars. That's gonna be really the winning strategy on this course. You need to get those pars every time you possibly can. And Jenni, if she keeps doing anything like she has done so far, she's gonna absolutely walk away with this tournament with an 11-stroke lead going into the final round over Sara and Mirabella. And Anni will be the fourth player on our card for tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the final round.